All right, fellas, before we begin, I just have a very critical question. It's very important that I ask this. How do you feel about compression fittings in brake lines?
I said
made
go
this
for
post.
it. Go
Did
for
you
it.
see that?
Yeah, it's good. It's fine. The rust is holding everything together.
Yeah, fills in the gaps.
It fills in the gaps and it keeps the pressure from exploding.
It's got like 600 comments. 200 of them are people saying that it's fine, that it's ridiculous that we would say there's something wrong with it, and they've been doing it for years. I'm thinking we make a video and we ask them all to post the names and addresses of their shops. What do you think? Hey y'all, Lucas here. It's story time. Over the past 6 months to a year, I've actually been working more and more in the family business. Now, the family business is not an automotive business, it's a tourist attraction. And one of the things that was happening in that family business is we were doing all of the marketing internally, be it social media ads, be it Google, all of it. We were handling all of it, website building, the whole 9 yards. And here's the deal. It became very clear our marketing efforts were ineffective. Now, we could see that we weren't getting return on investment. We could see that we weren't getting good conversions. And that's when we stepped in and hired someone. We hired a professional that knew what they were doing. And for the first time in years, our parking lot's full when it's typically empty. And that's why I'm going to recommend you pick up the phone today and call Shop Marketing Pros or click the link down in the comments below, because you shouldn't be learning how to do marketing. Your marketing machine should be working for you right here, right now, making sure your bays are full. So go into the link in the comments and click on the Shop Marketing Pros link for your free marketing analysis today.
Yeah, that'll go well. Yeah, I actually don't have much experience on the matter. I live on the West Coast, so I think out of the entire time I've been wrenching, I've had to repair one hard line, one is actually even just a fuel line. So, I always make the joke is, I removed the bleeder screws with the crescent wrench, and
I hate you.
Yeah,
Just want you to know I hate you. Why does this happen?
Yeah.
Why is this possible?
It's
Here,
California tax, we pay for no rust in our taxes and out of our paycheck.
Yeah. David loves California. A lot of people from California moved to David's neighborhood. He's been so much happier ever since. He just seems to really be.
I welcome them all with open arms. I love when they move into my neighborhoods.
Yeah, that's what I normally recommend is they go find you and try to change your state laws.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Try
That's exactly what they're doing.
They didn't like it here so much, so they go to wherever they want to go and try to make that place like here again. So.
That's it. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Josh, brother, how are you today?
I'm good. Good. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. It's good to be
Yes,
here.
sir.
Good to see you guys. Good to meet you guys.
Of course. So I want to preface what we're talking about here today and kind of the purpose of the episode, and then I'd like you to kind of introduce yourself. There was a post in the group, and it was something that a lot of us felt very passionate about, because this person had posted an advertisement somewhere, and some of the things that said in the advertisement were technically incorrect and were not the right way to handle things. And you know how we feel about charging for testing and how we feel about the direction our industry needs to go if we're going to value techs. We want consumers to value us. And so there were a lot of very passionate comments in that. But one of the things that stood out to me is there were a lot of really mean people in the comments. And they're not mean people because they're my friends, but the way they handled it was in a very mean way. And I'm guilty of it too. And you popped up and you said, hey guys, is this really what we're trying to do? Is this accomplishing what we want to accomplish? And you were absolutely right. Because I'm going to tell you, one of my first experiences in a Facebook group is I got absolutely attacked by people who were just being mean just to be mean, just because I didn't know. And I probably would have listened to the advice they gave had they been nice to me, but they weren't. It was I'm going to tear you down. I'm going to destroy you. So, Josh, give us your background. Tell us who you are. Introduce yourself. And let's dig into this topic a little bit, because I think it's something important that we talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. As I kind of said, probably most of these guys maybe not ever heard of me before. My story, my background is pretty unique, and there's some ways in which I could probably relate to a lot of people, and there's going to be some ways in which my story is just kind of off the walls. So I grew up in a repair shop. My grandpa started a shop over 50 years ago in Southern California here. And again, he was actually a rocket scientist for General Dynamics, but he was commuting to work. all the way to Pasadena. So he bought a gas station with a repair shop, closer to home. And he could fix cars great. And back then, you didn't even really need to be too business savvy to run a profitable repair shop, And my dad ended up taking it over. They tore it down and rebuilt the entire gas station in '96. So it's still there today. But I grew up, not wanting to be a technician or a mechanic at all, actually. It's just how it goes, right? Sometimes, you don't get along with family and you want to do the opposite of them. Or, I still spent all my summer breaks and vacations in the shop, helping out, doing whatever, watching. So I was involved in the business, throughout high school and stuff. There was a little bit tougher time for repair shops, and again, my dad, great technician, but he got thrown into running the business without any of the business management side of it, any of the education there on how to run a business. And so then in about 2006, it was one of those situations where summertime, good, profitable, and then wintertime kind of comes around, a slower time, and maybe you're putting bills on credit cards, stuff like that, just waiting. And that's actually when they joined ATI, the Automotive Training Institute.
Okay.
And that's, I know that's a whole topic on its own, right? But
yeah, for sure.
But again, back then there was far less options. There wasn't any of this, free, everything you guys are doing here on the podcast and the Facebook group. There was very, very little of that kind of accessibility to the information, so to speak. There was Napa 20 groups and stuff like that, but it's not really focused on running your business. And so that's when everything really changed for my family and the business. It was pretty much a complete 180, and it became, pretty good, successful. Right. In reality, in 2014, we were named the Motor Age top shop in the country.
Wow.
So, that was, obviously a significant feat. We're a 3-bay shop with a gas station. So not your, traditional big boy shop, so to speak, right? We're going up against dealerships and 10-bay shops with, the whole 9 yards. So, everybody finds their niche, right? And their niche. And ours was completely just service. The best possible customer service you could
Amen.
achieve, And so that's kind of what I was involved in and what I grew up in and what I was around. I went away to college once I got done with high school and went to school for business, went back home and just needed to pay bills. So started cleaning floors, cleaning parts, taking customers home, all that kind of thing, just working in the shop full time. Wasn't passionate, didn't care. Over the course of 10, 11, 12 years, something like that, I got fired from the family shop 3 different times.
I went to that at the family business too.
So, again, I didn't want to be a mechanic growing up. My dad would come home from work, pissed off and grumpy about cars and customers and just the day-to-day business, So it didn't seem too enticing to me. Got fired. I'd go work at a chain store somewhere, just to pay bills. I ran a repair shop out in Death Valley. Okay. So that was quite the experience.
I'd say.
You do service calls out in Death Valley, and you just get sent some coordinates, and you hope they gave you the right tire size, and you hope you find them. So, it's pretty wild out there. You start jacking up a semi to do tires, and you realize the truck's no longer lifting, and you look down, and the jack's melting into the asphalt. So,
right.
Definitely a unique situation there,
Yeah.
Worked the front office a couple times. But it wasn't until the last time I got fired that my dad basically said, hey, you need to take this serious if you ever want a chance to, run this business and kind of do this long-term and seriously. So that's when I first went to any sort of technical training, was to get my emissions license. You can't just take the test out here in California. You have to go to Of course, And, I always make the joke, I spent the first 3 days arguing with the instructor about why I don't need to use a lab scope, just because we've been in business for 50 years. We were pretty good, successful, didn't really have many issues. It'd been 30 years since a lab scope was really used in the shop, back when it was a whole cabinet,
Yeah.
And, but you see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that's when really I became passionate about this field. I wanted to be the best technician that I could be. Because I just basically realized there's a right way to do this. Up until that point, everything I had learned had been the hard way. It had been from me making mistakes or watching the guy next to me make mistakes. And, you know, that's really the least fun way to do this job is when you don't know what you're doing, you know. And when I would get thrown into those chain stores as a technician, that was some of the most stressful time of my life because, you know, at the family shop at the time, I was pretty much the R&R guy. And then I get thrown into a big chain store where I literally had to sign a piece of paper saying I don't have to bring my own tools. Because in California, if you bring your own tools, they got to pay you twice minimum wage because you're considered a tradesman.
Right.
So they provide shop tools, which is basically a craftsman tool chest with
$200 worth of cruddy tools.
$200 when they first bought it. After it had been picked through technicians, you know, by technicians for 5 years, it's nothing left. So that's the type of shop. There's nobody else there that can diagnose a car, no matter how hard they try. And I knew more than the next guy, so I'm getting all these diags thrown my way, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm trying my best, right? I have the best intentions. I want to fix these cars as good as possible. But as I said, that was the most stressful time of my life. You know, I wake up in the middle of the night in a hot sweat thinking, oh, shit, that green Tahoe's back again, you know?
Yeah.
And it's not a good way. It's not enjoyable, you know? So finding out that there is kind of a method to this madness and you don't have to struggle was really what changed my life. And I dove in headfirst to all the different training I possibly could. You know, we're on the hybrid and EV. You know, it's getting shoved down our throat in California, whether it makes sense or not. So, David, you know, just know you're going to have a lot of Teslas in your area soon.
He's going hydrogen. David's a full hydrogen dude, right?
The market has thoroughly rejected EVs. They're not selling.
They don't make sense everywhere. It's just as simple as it is, you know. But
they rarely make sense.
Yeah.
The inner city,
head first and
20-mile radius. That's it.
Yeah, Nissan Leaf. You know, it's a go-kart, right? But but yeah, dove in head first. Went back to run the repair shop. I ran a repair shop for the last 2 or 3 years. You know, we were AAA shop, so you have to have somebody with master tech, smog inspector, smog repair, brake and lamp, which is like a safety inspection. You have to have somebody with all those licenses working 40 hours a week to maintain your AAA status. And so at the time, my dad carried all those licenses. And once I went to technical training, I got all those licenses so that basically he could stay home. And so he stayed home. We didn't fight anymore because he wasn't there. And everything went great, you know. And everything was going really well. Business was as profitable as ever, but they were approached with an offer to buy the business, and they did sell. And it was great for them. You know, I was obviously bummed and kind of threw a wrench in my whole plans with life and everything, but it is what it is, you know, and it all worked out for the best. Again, my story's a little kind of off the walls. So I was working at the family shop, you know, running everything. And then, you know, one of my buddies sent me a post on Instagram, and it was actually to the U.S. Auto Tech National Championship, you know, and so this was obviously, I don't know, 2021 maybe, something like that.
Okay.
And I had never seen it before, never heard of it before, looked it up online, and it was the first year of its running. So there's no information on it. All it is advertisements saying that there's $200,000 in prizes, basically. And so I'm like, dude, I don't think this is even real. But, you know, take the online qualifiers, actually qualify, go to the next step of the challenge, which is actually they send you a brake line and a flaring kit and a template, and they want you to flare this brake line and do the double flare and everything, you know, bend it.
Right.
And record yourself and submit it to them, and then they'll judge you.
You didn't send a kind of compression fitting into them?
Dude, I just poked them together and put some JB Weld there. Dude, I've never done a damn brake line before. I mean, I literally had to go buy brake line. I called Napa or whoever, like, do you guys even sell brake line? I'm looking for this, you know?
That's
we just
crazy.
don't have it over here.
Yeah.
So did the brake line flaring and all that, you know, end up making it through to the next round.
Who's putting this thing on?
So at the time, it's Elite Trades is like kind of the guys running this whole show. Ideal. Have you guys seen those? The Ideal wire twist nuts for like household electrical?
Yeah.
So that's still a small business. Well, at least at the time, I think it still is. Small, you know, family-run business, so to speak. And so they had a competition every year for electrical, like household electrical, commercial, residential electrical,
Sure.
where they would do the same thing, big competition. They'd fly you out there and they'd have a whole fake wall set up and give you the schematic to run a box and conduit and everything like that. Well, then they wanted to expand, and so they wanted to run this competition for the automotive sector.
Wow.
And they actually reached out to the Garage Guru team. And so the Garage Gurus were like the title, or one of the title sponsors. And so, I'm just at the time younger, ignorant to what I don't know, you know what I mean? But just going out there, they flew you out to Nashville and pay for your flights, your hotels.
I'm just perplexed that they didn't bother to consult anybody that doesn't live in the part of the country
I know, right?
that requires brake line replacement.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
that's
I'm
a
sure
lot.
they did. I'm sure it's a nationwide.
Then why? Yeah, okay. Then why would they send out like, I'm going to send this to Southern California? Make me a brake line. A what?
But listen, he adapted. He overcame, David.
Remove this rusty bolt. This what?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, it's wild. You just don't really think about the different issues technicians face across the country because, we have Facebook now, so you get a little bit more exposed to it. But typically, you're in your smaller market, and it's a little bit of an echo chamber, and you deal with the same stuff you always deal with.
Yeah.
So the Garage Gurus were the title sponsor. Well, they're kind of headquartered out of Detroit, and they have to come up with the different challenges and different, stages of this competition. So logistically, it is a little bit tough to try to figure out what, you could send to 30 guys or 60 guys or 100 guys and have them perform some sort of task that's not going to take 2 hours, and they can't send an engine to everybody to diagnose or something. So it still worked out. But I go to Nashville and it's televised. It's on, I think that first year it was either Fox Sports 2 or CBS Sports 2, one of the two, I forget.
Was it the Ocho?
Yeah, pretty much, I was next to the guy forged in fire, he's making knives next to me. No, just kidding. But, my whole goal is to just not go out in the first round because they sent 32 professionals and 32 students. There's a student category and a professional category. And they flew them all out there, put them all up in a hotel, food, everything. And I just don't want to go out in the first round. In the first round, there's all the breadboards, the electrical. And they have a mock circuit, and it's electrical questions, basically. And so, they bring you all out on stage, and it's televised, and they're reading your names off one at a time, and you're walking out of the group. It's nerve-wracking. You got all the lights on you. It's intense, And so I made it into the second round, which was, we get out there. They don't tell us ahead of time, but we get out to the floor. Now it's 16 of us. And there's drive shafts. There's just drive shafts on each workbench, and we got to replace the U-joints on these drive shafts. Well, same thing. I mean, we replace U-joints out here. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's not probably as bad and detrimental as you guys.
You're not like me, where you put the tiger tool on it and it blows the end of the drive shaft off to the rest of the shop.
No, it just doesn't happen. We don't have the harsh weather, making its way through the bearing caps. I mean, half of them are dry on grease and they still aren't bound up and they work just fine. So, I'm thinking, oh crap, here we go.
Yeah.
So, just do my best. That's all you can do, right? Press out the old bearings, press in the new bearings, and I didn't think I had any chance of making it to the next round, but I was just happy I didn't go out in the first round. And then same thing happens. We all line up on the stage. They start calling names off, and then I was the last name that he called to make it to the final five.
Oh wow!
And it's just I was probably a little tipsy at this point because I didn't expect to make it to the next round, and then I made it to the next round while being tipsy. That's one of the best feelings you could ever experience if you get the chance somehow. So then the next day we show up and there's now 5 brand new late model crate engine, the 5.3 GMs, out on that floor, and
all with wiped out cams, and they're like, diagnose it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we had 2 hours to diagnose low compression.
Wiped out cam.
And then fix it, right?
Now it's just pattern failures. You just say, hey, you want me to order the cams?
You don't need to. I'm not going to diagnose. It's got a wiped out cam.
Yeah. No, it's intense. You got the lights on you, so you're just sweating, and you have to wear safety glasses because it's being recorded. You got to do things by the book. So
Oh, that's awful.
I got multiple pairs of safety glasses just because I sweat through one pair and I can't clean them. I just go to the next pair. But you have to do a compression test and a leak down test the manual way. Right?
Here we go.
Yeah. So, doing a compression test and a leak down test on that V8, that already is going to take a substantial amount of time when you only got 2 hours to diagnose it. Then you tell your judges what parts you need to fix it. Then they give you the parts, whether you're basically right or wrong. And then you got to actually R&R those parts in that 2 hours. And so one bank had...
That's intense.
It's fast, fast-paced. One bank had, like 2 companion cylinders with 70 psi, so that was a head gasket issue. And then the other bank had a collapsed lifter. And so in that 2 hours, compression test, leak down test, get your parts, and you got to remove both cylinder heads, do a head gasket, do the lifter on the other bank, and put it all back together, and they want everything torqued to spec, as they should, right?
Yeah.
But we're talking exhaust manifolds, valve covers, intake manifolds, everything. Which in reality, does that stuff always get torqued to spec in the shop or not?
I would have asked for a tube of silicone.
Yeah.
Like, I'll get this thing back together. Don't you worry about it.
Yeah. And so it was designed to where nobody would finish because then it'd be a lot easier to judge who won.
Yeah.
Well, I finished with 1 minute and 50 something seconds left. Down to the wire. And another guy actually finished a couple minutes before me as well. So, we're not knowing what to expect. I get done. I turn the timer to end my time, and I look back, and there's a single 10 mil bolt on the table still. And I'm like, oh shit, and I'm like, what is this for? Well, it was to hold on one of those little brackets that holds a fuel line underneath the intake manifold.
Oh no!
So I didn't have enough time to get it back off and get it back on there. It was what it was, The other guy ended up maybe not torquing stuff to spec or didn't get his compression readings correct. But they essentially said that his mistake and my mistake canceled out, and then he finished a couple minutes before me. So he ended up winning, and I did take second place, which is still phenomenal and was far beyond my expectations.
Right.
But Dan, you guys talk about that 10 mil bolt. Your shit doesn't ever add up to mine because I lost 20 grand on that one 10 mil bolt.
Oh, dude.
Yeah. First place won
I don't know. How do you judge that? If this were a real vehicle, it not being the bolts not being tied and torqued to spec is a bigger problem than one missing bolt on a fuel line.
You're preaching to the choir here. I said, which engine would you rather put in your car and drive?
That's it, Mr.
Exactly.
Judge. Which one do you want?
Yeah. And now it's funny because now those judges and those guys are my boss. So now I really give them crap because, hey, man.
I regret that.
That was your consolation. We're going to hire you, bud. It's like, thanks.
Yeah. So that 110 mil cost 20. I still won 20,000. So, that's still a huge, unexpected winnings for sure, now.
Yeah, for sure.
California took half of it. So.
Yeah, buddy. One yoink.
So
I've got
sorry, we're all over the place here. So
no, I love it. I love it.
The competition, and when I got back home, the trade school that I went to get my emissions license actually went out there to support me, and so then they offered me a job. So I started teaching at nights. So I was working 8 to 5, and then teaching 6 to 10, and thoroughly enjoyed the teaching, but I was burning it on both ends. Right.
Yeah.
So then when my parents ended up selling the business, the new owners kept everybody and as you guys would want to keep all of the good employees there, but I wasn't necessarily too excited to sit there and work for somebody else when that wasn't the plan, So I kind of started looking for other avenues and was actually offered a job by Jaguar Land Rover here in Southern California as an instructor. But the pay was abysmal, for a full-time instructor in Southern California for a somewhat luxury brand, I'd be making less than half their technicians would make, which doesn't make any damn sense,
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I reached out to the Garage Guru team because I had met those guys at the competition, and then I'd seen them at Vision and a lot of these conferences and would say hi and have some drinks with them. And so I was calling just to see like, hey, is this what I should expect for pay? Because otherwise I'll never be able to, do that.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, not really, but we need somebody on the West Coast. So why don't you apply? So that's when I applied to the Garage Guru team as a full-time instructor. And they decided to take a risk with me, right? Because I'm definitely on the younger side. At the time, I was 29.
Okay.
And, you got to figure that I think the next youngest instructor on the team at that point was like mid to high 40s.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
And these guys have been doing, teaching and instructing for the past 20 to 30 years. So, on paper, their resumes blow me out of the water because I'm just, some dumb kid who teaches a little bit at night, so to speak.
Yeah.
But they took a risk on me, and I just basically did the best I could. Went at it full, guns blazing. Again, took all the training I possibly could and practiced and did everything I possibly could to become better. And so I've been teaching full time now for I think 2.5 years, something like that.
Wow. Okay.
And it's gone extremely well. I've been able to do a lot of side work, so I have a mobile programming, diagnostic, and ADOS business as well.
Okay.
Which is awesome because now I have basically an unlimited supply of case studies to keep our content fresh and
sure.
up to date and new cars. And so because of that, they've now moved me as a half trainer, half content development. So now my job is to create new classes and content and edit old classes and all that kind of good, all that good stuff. And that's why I had just so happened to make that whole class on the pressure transducers. And so when I saw those comments there and everything kind of going haywire, it was like, dude, the guy just doesn't know.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's my background, and it's again all over the place. In some ways,
no, dude, I love this story, and I've got some specific questions here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so the first one is, you're a youngster, right, or younger, and mom and dad join up with ATI to start working on the business. What was your interpretation? What was your perspective of how that shifted things and what that felt like? We're always telling people, hey, you need information, you need knowledge, you need training, because running the business and doing the work that the business does are two different things.
Oh yeah.
I would love to hear from a child's standpoint, or that standpoint of somebody who had that outside but intimate perspective. What did that feel like? What did that look like? What did that change for you?
Yeah, it was incredible. So again, obviously your parents aren't going to really tell you when money is tight if they can avoid it, right? Nobody wants to have that conversation. So at the time I was in late junior high or early high school, maybe somewhere around there, so I'm playing baseball, doing sports, and so they kind of say that they're joining this training program, which has a significant cost to it. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it, especially when you're tight on money at the time. It's
for sure.
It seems kind of odd, right? So I'm just going with the flow, trusting them. I'm thinking, damn, do I need to stop playing baseball so you guys don't have to spend money on the bats and gloves and all that kind of thing, whatever. And then, like I said, they start going to some of this training, and at the time, they were pretty much only headquartered out of Baltimore.
Okay.
And so they were just flying to Baltimore to do training, all the different training, with their coaches and different stuff. And so I'm just thinking, okay, whatever, it's just another phase, right? Well, it was incredible how quickly it made a difference, right?
Oh, wow.
It was just night and day difference. And this was, you got to remember, right before the recession.
Yeah,
right?
For sure. Everybody tanked right then.
Those were our best years.
Wow.
And it's just because, right now
that's pretty common to hear, though, Lucas, that the recession when 2009, because you got to think half the dealerships got wiped out. People were still driving cars, and they were keeping them longer. The only thing that kind of messed things up was the cash for clunkers.
That's when I started. Yeah, that's right when I started the shop in 2007.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, that's a fun time to start, right?
Right.
Yeah, but at the time, all this ideology that we have now just wasn't commonplace. So we just dove in head first to service. We dove head first into the digital inspection. So we signed on with Auto Vitals. Pretty much at the time, they were pretty in their infancy.
Yeah.
Right. But we started with Auto Vitals doing the digital inspections. That's how I helped a lot at the time, because I was, just somewhat more technical savvy than my parents were. And so I set up all the monitors and iPads and for techs and dealt with software and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm talking within a couple months, the amount of increase in profit, both gross and net, it was something that you could feel. I mean, it was noticeable and substantial. So, I was obviously all for it because I'm, more vacations, more toys.
Yeah, for sure.
Dirt bikes and travel trailers and all that kind of stuff, boat trips to the lake and whatnot. So it was great, and then it kind of transitioned into me going to a lot of those trainings as well, because again, they'd kind of want me to be their succession plan eventually, right? So I went to a lot of the, advanced phone skills, level 1, level 2, service advisor trainings 1 and 2, service manager trainings, marketing. So I took a lot of that training for the front office, actually before I was even really working in the business full time, and before I was even a tech wrenching full time. So the shop management, the training, it's a no-brainer, right? I don't care how much it costs. You are going to make that money back.
No problem. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me ask about this, because one of the things that I hear from a lot of people when I talk to them is, hey, I'm really stressed out. I feel like the world is closing in around me. Right.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we hear back from them, because, we work with the Institute, so we get them hooked up with the Institute, and they'll come back later and they'll say, this made an impact, not just in my life, but it impacted my children's lives. It made their life better. Do you feel like there was an impact for you from that perspective? Could you see the stress change in their life? What kind of impacts did you see in that regard?
Well, if you met my dad, you would say, no, there was no difference in the stress. He's just a very, gung-ho, all in micromanager, so to speak, so the stress just changes, at least for us, the stress just shifts. Whereas before, maybe we're stressed about bills and finances. And then once we join the program and change everything, the stress is, okay, are we adding a second location, right? What are we going to be able to do to improve the quality of life of the technicians and staff that we have there currently? Right. Because, and it's so hard. This industry is so multifaceted in so many different ways. And especially this Facebook group has such a big draw of technicians, shop owners, service advisors, everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
And, until you've really sat in the other person's shoes, it's easy to criticize and say, oh, just pay all your techs $150,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, shit, you got to make
that where does the money come from?
Yeah.
Right? We've had that discussion, right? And sometimes it feels like they don't understand that. And a good friend of mine, Eric, right? He's a shop owner. And we have had some heart-to-heart discussions, and he says, I want nothing more than to give my guys every dime I can give them. But I'm telling you, the P&L, the numbers, they don't work. Right. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm not saying that. He's like, I'm riding this line of being so expensive I don't have enough cars, and I'm also riding this line of being like paying my guys well and making enough money to survive. Yeah. And I think it's really easy to get in this attitude of, I deserve $200,000 a year. Well, honey, we all deserve $200,000 a year. I hate to tell you,
Yeah. And it just, again, it just all adds up. And as I'm sure you guys have learned and experienced, right? Okay, so let's just $100,000 technician salary. Okay, $100,000, that's manageable. It's good pay. Doesn't seem egregious for a shop owner to pay, right? Well, until you remember what your net profit is, right? Yeah. What's your overall net? So how much do you actually have to bring in, sell, and complete in order for that to equate to $100,000 to pay a technician? After, obviously taxes, mortgage,
expenses, all the things. Yeah.
Is that all of a sudden that's a $400,000 technician or whatever, you know what I mean? So
yeah, for sure. It's a big deal. Yeah. Well, my next question is, and this is something we've heard a lot of parents and a lot of children have been through this. Mom and dad decided to sell the business. That stung. I know it stung. Yeah. That was something that when I was younger, I really got upset about, was the discussions of selling the business. It bothered me. Now, the shop is not a family business. And as a matter of fact, I think one of the reasons ultimately I started a shop is because it was always threatened. We'll sell it. We'll just sell this place. We just won't do this anymore. And so I never felt like it was a truly safe thing. And it was always a very passionate discussion. It was always out of frustration and anger and other things, right?
You mean you don't decide to sell the business when everything is going great and everybody's happy?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. How did that feel? What was that like for you?
Oh man, yeah, I was upset, as you could imagine. So, you know, as I said, this is a good, profitable, well-ran shop, well-oiled machine. You know, not to get crazy into numbers because that's not what everything's about, but you know, we were a 3-bay shop, only open Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. We didn't have a tire machine or alignment machine, so we would do very little tires and alignment. That would get sublet. And the last year that I was there, we did 1.5 million for the year. So I mean, that's efficient. You know, that's profitable.
For sure.
That's kicking shit out. You know.
Yeah.
And so it's like, for me, you know, we have this kind of family legacy. It's almost like an heirloom. I've been around in the community for over 50 years, and it was successful. And I was already pretty much running the shop, and my dad would come in once every 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, you know, whatever it is, just to, you know, hopefully he doesn't watch this podcast, but, you know, hopefully just come in, find something to bitch about, to make himself feel useful.
Relevant,
and go home, you know, so... I was obviously frustrated. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that, but
felt like kind of got the rug jerked out from underneath you.
Yeah, and I mean, ultimately, it just comes down to, you know, you talked about, you know, the threat of, well, we're just going to sell it. You know, that same thing happens with family business. Just because it's your dad doesn't mean he's not going to say all that stuff. Because, you know, as I said, he's a micromanager. You know, and so, and we had the gas station there, which is open 24 hours, so that's added stress. So, you know, you wake up in the middle of the night just worried about whatever numbers, the actual business, property, whatever it was. And even with me running it, you know, he couldn't just let go and relax and get that weight off his shoulders, so to speak. So, you know, it sold for too much. There was no way that I was going to be able to take, you know, whatever, a second out of my house or anything like that to even make a dent on what was offered. So it just wasn't really too feasible. It was disappointing. The emotions were running high for sure. You know, was upset. You know, my dad and I didn't talk a bunch for a while, you know, and then we've kind of reconciled since. And, you know, I kind of reached out. So we do breakfast every Monday morning just to kind of make sure we, you know, stay in contact and have a relationship there, so to speak. So
have you talked about it since?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we talk about it. You know, he says, you know, that he still thinks it was the right decision because he sees me now, you know, being somewhat successful as an instructor and enjoying it. So, you know, I think that makes it easier on him, of course, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, we've talked about it. He still says, you know, he thinks it's the right decision. And, you know, he said that if I wanted to go start a repair shop, you know, he would support that and, you know, financially or however he could, right? But, you know, at the end of the day, it's like I don't really want to get back into the same ball game we were at where you're my financer or whatever. And so then you have a say in what I'm doing and how I'm running the shop or whatever the case may be. So right now I'm doing the instructing and the mobile stuff. And
for sure,
honestly, I love it. I have the most unique situation because pretty much, you know, I have a full-time job instructing and building content. And so now I get to go do the side work as obviously some extra money, but also it's the most valuable learning experience you could ever imagine. So some of my biggest and best customers are used car lots. Yeah. Wholesale. So their business model is a bit different. They do have a car lot up front, but they buy 60 to 70 cars a week from auction as is, fix them, and sell them back at the auction with a warranty. So they're just doing massive volume, you know, but just low margins. Yeah. And so, you know, you've probably dealt with auction cars. You never know what you're going to get there.
Yeah, so, no doubt, dude. No doubt.
There's these crazy headache cars. Some of them have been there for years. And now I get to go there and spend way too much time figuring them out, right? Because any other mobile tech is going to have to charge for that hourly time they're spending there on that car. Whereas me, since I'm lucky and fortunate enough to have my full-time job, you know, I can basically waste time and take a loss trying
to get the content, to develop
get
the content. Yeah.
Learn, test, practice, intentionally do things wrong, right? That's not an option that you have a lot of the times. And so, I mean, I could talk on this stuff forever, but even the ADAS stuff is incredible how smart the cars are.
Yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane.
Yeah, the stigma with ADAS is incorrect. But maybe we'll dive into that on another podcast. Right?
What's the stigma? I don't understand. What's the stigma?
Oh, that you need a clean room in a laboratory with white floors, perfectly leveled and the whole 9 yards.
Well, I just need that for my own personal gratification. So I mean,
it's model. It goes model to model, and some cars are more finicky than others. I think the it's not that you have to have it perfect. It's that, hey, don't rock the whatever the target or whatever back and forth until the thing reads. Yeah, like that. Don't do that. Yeah. No. Yeah, well, that's what they're doing. They're like, oh, just keep wiggling and it'll be fine. Once it reads, it's good, and then we'll ship it. It's like, dude, that's not accurate. No. What are you doing?
No, but ultimately, again, if you're worried about something, because there are discrepancies between what the scan tool says for the calibration and what service information says, well, what's the final factor?
Why would there be a discrepancy? What? The car drive? You're not going to know.
GM thing?
Like, hey, I'm going to try to run into this tree, see if it stops. What are you talking about?
Well, you practice it. You use the lane keep assist, and you use those different functions and features.
David gets those in his rental cars all the time.
Yeah.
He just
I don't trust them. I don't trust them at all. You know why? Because I just assumed they didn't calibrate. I just assumed because look, I had a fleet car come in, a fleet company bring their vehicles to us, and they had a leaking radiator and the condenser was all jacked up. And so we said, hey, we're going to do a radiator and condenser combo on this car. We need to take the front bumper off. That's going to require a front camera, or I think it was a front radar calibration. And so we need to tack on $250 plus the alignment. And they're like, well, we're not paying for that. It's like, okay, but the car needs it. Like, we're taking the bumper off. You see, like, step 2 is take the bumper off. Yeah. And if you go into R&R bumper, here's the line that says you got to calibrate. And they're like, well, we've had that bumper off before. No shop has ever told us that it needs to be calibrated.
Of course they haven't.
Yeah.
Well, they don't have the equipment. I do. What are you talking? I'm reading service information. You see the service information? They're like, yeah, but we're just going to come pick it up. We're going to take it to a different shop. That's what they did. They took it to. I'm okay with that. But the problem is that car's still on the road.
Yeah.
You know what this makes me think about is the fact that
don't use the ADAS on a rental car.
Don't do that.
If it's your own personal vehicle,
like seeing
fine,
David with the veins popping out of his forehead makes me realize something. Okay. Your parents were laying in bed at night, 3 a.m., couldn't sleep, trying to figure out how to make all the pieces of the puzzle fit together. And they said, I don't want this for my son. Yeah. Right? Like, I don't want him to experience business ownership because it's miserable. You will be a grouchy, crudgy old man named David Roman bitching about the rental cars not being properly calibrated, having nightmares about it.
Yeah, I know. It's a good thing. I'm trying to hold on to my hair while I can,
Yeah,
I would let my kids work in the business. I would never leave the business to my kids. I will sell that mother effer so fast, and I will fund whatever business they want to get into. And I want to tell them, do not own a repair shop. It is a absolute dumpster fire nightmare. It is the worst.
Yeah, I've not been sleeping lately. I've had my own set of challenges. Josh, we're doing a training class, okay? Because like you came to me and you said, hey, what the F are we doing here? Like, if we're actually trying to change the industry, this doesn't look like that. And you were right in that post context, right? Like we work really hard to try and have hard discussions and have open discussions and not filter out the hard discussions because somebody doesn't like this or it hurts this person's feelings. Like, we want to have the hard discussions. But you were right. It was not a productive discussion. It was more tearing down than it was lifting up. And so I said, okay, well, what do we do about it? Tell us how you came to the conclusion of what we're going to do about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I try not to be super active on your guys' page in the comment section because, there's enough cooks in the kitchen already. And, there have been some times and maybe I don't agree with something, but, it's negligent. It doesn't really matter. This time was a little bit more cut and dry so that I did decide to speak up And then when you did ask, what do we do about it? Well, shit, you got me there, right? So, time to put my money where my mouth is. And I just made this whole class. And, I thoroughly enjoy the class. I think it's a great class. But I figure, well, here's a great opportunity to, even if that guy is there or not, I don't care. To be honest with you, I didn't even listen to the audio on that video because I was doing mobile side work while I saw the video pop up. And I saw the compression gauge and comments and whatever. And I don't care what the guy said. I don't care how old or how young he is. At the end of the day, he just doesn't know what he doesn't know, right? And so none of us knew everything our entire life, right? There was a certain point in which we found out about all this stuff and we learned about it. Once you know it exists, now the ball is in your court, right? Because if you don't know it
100%.
exists, you can't do anything to learn it and excel in that area. But once you know it exists, okay, I don't understand that completely. Now let me go in my own time and research it further, pay for additional training, whatever the case may be. Well, I figure if I can provide this class for free, hopefully we do have these guys showing up and it's kind of the catalyst for their career to where they can become passionate and continue to train and become better and better, because that's kind of what took place for me.
For sure. So this February 10th, 2026 is when this event's going to be. We're not recording it. It's going to be live. We're going to post a link in the Changing the Industry Facebook group. You have to be a member of the group. And you're going to be teaching a class. It's going to start with a little bit of networking. We're going to sit around and just talk and have a good time. I'm going to do my very best to be there. I know Jeff Compton, the Jaded Mechanic, is going to be there. We're going to have some other folks there. I'm going to do my best to be there. And then you're going to teach the class and do a little bit of Q&A after.
Yep.
And so I'm really excited. And I just want to say thank you, right? Because I think this is an awesome way to lift up the industry, an awesome way to begin to say, okay, guys, if we're gonna talk about this, let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's put our action where our mouth is, and let's take steps to change it, because we know there are things that are wrong with our industry. I was talking about this post I made, and all it is it's a picture of a brake line with a compression fit in it. It's a commercial truck. It's in really poor condition, and it's got a brass compression fitting that's rated for 500 PSI. I know because I've got some of these compression fittings that I use for other projects around here. And, for instance, like boost gauge lines or water lines to your refrigerator. If you read the packaging, it says on the back of it, don't use it for brakes. And it's rated for 500 PSI. And we have a multitude of shops and folks who are saying they're professional technicians commenting saying, there's nothing wrong with that. I've been doing it for years.
Right.
There's a multitude of people who don't understand the difference between a compression fitting and a union.
Yeah.
And so we're sitting here saying as professionals, we have a responsibility to the motoring public. We have a responsibility to the other shops. We have a responsibility to our employer if we're a technician to do good work and to do a good job for the client.
And forget all that anyways. It should be personal pride, right? I mean,
absolutely.
At the end of the day, you should want to be able to provide the best service. You're calling yourself a professional, right? You should want to provide the best service possible, right? Just because I've done it and it doesn't cause a problem doesn't mean that's the right way to do it, right? So,
exactly.
And that's the difficulty is a lot of these guys have probably done that for years and years and it hasn't had a problem. So they assume it's okay, which isn't necessarily true, right?
And my perspective of it is this. It's okay until it's your daughter in that car. It's okay until it's your son in that car or your wife, right? It's okay until a car comes across the road and hits somebody head on because they didn't do a calibration correctly or they expected a safety system to work that didn't work like they planned for it to. And there's tons of reasons that you can give, but the moment that takes someone's life that you really care about, that's a whole different ballgame right there.
Now it's an outrage. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And the consumer always, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I get so frustrated with these shops because they always come in and they say, yeah, but they don't have the money and I'm just trying to help them out. And they said they were in poor times financially and they this and they that. I'm like, right up until it doesn't work like they expect it to, right up until something doesn't go the way they planned or somebody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Right. As a professional, you have to set that standard. It's your job. They can't set the standard.
Right.
You go to the doctor and listen, doctors are jokes at this point. I've got a really good one in case she listens to this. Yeah. But like, dude, they have a professional creed, a standard that says I can or cannot do A, B, C, or D. Right? Yep. Do no harm. And I think that we often lose that we are professionals. And I talk to people all the time and they say, I put a waiver on there that says no warranty. I was in jury duty one time for a civil case, and the judge looked across the room at the business owner and said, I'm sorry, sir, you cannot waive your professional responsibility under any course of action. Yep. And the guy said, no, I put it on the paper. It says right there, no warranty, no this, no that. He said, it doesn't matter. You're a professional. You can't do something that's non-professional and expect the law to protect you. It doesn't work like that. Yep. You know?
Yeah. No, it's wild. You know, there's so much we could talk about. I feel like we could talk all day, honestly. But I mean, you talk about how complicated cars are getting, right?
Yeah.
You auto auth across multiple different manufacturers. Now, Audi has the tokens to unlock the gateway.
Yeah.
You know, and I hear people bitch and moan about it all the time. I tell them, like, look, this is the best thing for our industry. You know, that $60 a year I got to pay to access Nissan or Chrysler. Am I going to make $60 less? No, right?
100%.
I'm going to increase my cost to make sure that I still bring home what I need to bring home. But what's that going to do to all the other backyard mechanics and low-level shops that aren't doing any training or paying attention to it? You know, it's going to start to weed some of that out. So
they're not going to be able to sustain it.
Yeah. So these customers aren't going to have that other shop to go to that'll half-ass it and, you know, not do things correctly, right? But again, I think in reality, we have to take responsibility for some of this rejection.
Yeah.
Right. When the customer comes back at you and the bill is too much money and they don't want to pay it, you know, whose fault is that? Not the customers. Yep. That's our fault. No, the service advisor, whoever it is, because it's not the dollar amount they have a problem with.
It's the value.
It's the value. It's the perceived value. Yep. Right? You go on Grubhub, Uber Eats, all this different stuff. Now you could finance Grubhub.
Yeah.
Right? So if you find the value in that food, you will figure the money out later.
That's exactly right. I'm going to pay 20% interest on a burger that I paid you $25 to deliver to me because it was convenient.
Yeah. So it doesn't matter if it's financially responsible or not, right? If they see the value in it, they will get that work done. So again, that ties in directly to our diagnosing. None of these customers want to pay for the cost of Diag. They want it to go towards the cost of the repair, right? Well, it's understandable. Shit, I'd ask if I had to go out of town.
Yeah.
I'd ask. You know, I know the answer, but if I had to go out of town and get work done, it's like, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? Because I don't know any better, right?
Yep.
I don't know how to ask you if this is worth it for my car, but I know about price, so I can sit here and try to hassle price and ask it to be cheaper and discounts here and there, and I don't have the money.
Some of them wouldn't care if it was 50 cents. It's still too expensive.
Yeah.
They don't care if you're making money or not.
Right.
That to them, that's not their problem. All they want's the car fixed as cheap as possible.
Yeah.
Now, some don't.
Again, that's just the question they know how to ask.
Yeah.
They don't know how to ask, hey, is your technician really following service information and performing this repair to manufacturer's specs and recommendations, et cetera? Are you guys using OE or equivalent to OE parts? They don't know those questions.
Joke's on you, Josh. There are training companies that are teaching their service advisors to just say, yeah, they're certified in Lexus. They know what they're doing. It's like, oh, okay.
Oh my God, I cannot stand it.
Yeah.
I cannot stand it.
They just say whatever to the customer, and the customer doesn't know how to actually vet it.
Right.
You know, look, integrity in today's world is a dying trait. I'm just telling you.
No, for sure. And again,
But if you're making lots of money, Lucas, how can it be wrong?
Yeah.
Well, we're going to fund churches in Guatemala, David.
We're going to fund churches in Guatemala. Yes, orphanages. We're going to build some orphanages in Guatemala.
Josh is going to kill us.
No, but I mean, I'm just saying again, because, you know, it ties into our class perfect, right? You know, you have a car come in that gets towed in as a no start. You got to try to start it, and the cadence is bad. You could hear a dead hole. So I always make the joke, right? You walk over to the customer, or you call them, you got your finger in your belly button. Hey, man, that's bad. You need an engine. Okay, $200 for diagnosing, please. Right?
Yeah.
Or hey, you don't got no air coming out the vents. But I smacked that blower motor and it turned on, so you need a blower motor. $200, please. Right? It's the perceived value. I understand paying for my experience, not my time. But what if I can just show you a relative compression test waveform? You don't know what it means, but it's something. It's value.
Right? Dude, look, I'm just going to tell you. I'm going to get myself in trouble here. On my personal YouTube channel.
The cylinders were fuel washed, by the way. That's why the cadence was off.
Yeah.
Well, so I've got this gentleman on my personal YouTube channel that's loving the comments. And we got into this debate about charging for Diag, and I said, my guys just tell me how much time they need, and we go to the client, explain exactly what test we're going to do, what the expected results are, and how much it is, right? Yep. Now, he says, would you give me 10 hours to Diag a misfire on a 3.6 Pentastar? And I said, well, what would that include, right? Because I knew this dude's been trying to kind of like trap me all along, and he's like trolling me into a trap. Right. And I said, so what test would that include? And he said, well, I would remove the intake manifold, and that would be enough time to switch the coils and the injectors around. And I said, okay. And he said, but now keep in mind, most likely, I would do a compression test and a leak down, and I would likely miss it. Are you still going to pay me the 10 hours? Because really, we know it was a follower on a cam. Yeah. And I said, I wouldn't even be there. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, I'd use a pulse sensor in the intake, and I would do a relative compression test, and I would sync it, and I would have an idea of what I'm looking at before I got there. And he said, yeah, but you'd have to buy $10,000 worth of equipment to do that. And he like freaks out, and all he'll talk about is that I wasn't going to pay him his 10 hours to disassemble this thing to guess. Yeah. I'm like, dude, what did you expect me to say? He's like, the industry's screwed. I can't believe you people are ripping people off. Yeah. I'm like, dude, you're the one ripping people off.
Yeah. No, it's, again, there's so many different sides to all of this conversation, you know.
And
different situations, different experiences, and I get all that, you know, but
for sure,
it had to be expensive, right? And that's one of the parts or sections that I go over in this class is the tooling, right? So of course we can get the Pico scope or the ATS, you know, equipment, which is phenomenal.
Buddy, that 8-channel ain't cheap.
No, exactly. You know, and so Bernie, if you're watching this, right, I'll make some content with it, right?
That's it. Like maybe you donate one to me.
Yeah. No,
he needs to go get that shit made in China, and then we can get it nice and cheap.
Yeah,
he's gonna shoot us for this conversation later. That is an awesome.
Quit hand making the goddamn things in Pennsylvania or wherever the hell it is.
That is an awesome piece of equipment.
No, it is great, and I enjoy Bernie. If you guys don't use their 3C chemical cleaner, it is actually phenomenal and does an incredible job of removing carbon.
Really,
they've got some stuff that you can dump in the oil.
They got that too, but who cares about that? This product,
when you have to when you're trying to clean the carbon off of the piston rings on like a 2012 Honda Odyssey, it's just caking the spark plugs with flipping carbon, and then the car keeps coming back in with misfires, and you clean the spark plugs and you tell them this engine is toast. You can run that gunk through the oil like a whole bunch of times, and it'll clean the carbon off. And you know, instead of every 3 months coming in with a misfire, it comes in every 2 years with a misfire.
Come on, dude. That's repeat opportunities there.
Yeah, man. We could have put 3 engines in this by now, David.
I would totally do it if the customer didn't look at me sideways and be like, do you really know what the hell you're doing? It's like, yes, dude, I told you not to buy the shit box.
If the oil viscosity starts with a 0 and ends with a 1.6, don't buy that car.
No, they got all that shit fixed on the newer ones for the most part. I mean, if you can buy a newer Toyota, that's fine. But you know, that was like that 2009 to 2014 range where they were messing around with those low tension piston rings that were causing all sorts of problems.
Yeah,
that's it. Well, guys, February 10th.
So are you saying I got to put this out before then?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to need you to send this to the actual editor, not the David editor. I want clips. 25 clips.
You didn't say what year,
right?
Lucas. It could be 2027.
I'm going to need you to Braxton this. Cut it up so Josh sounds like he's saying all kinds of effed up stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, make it sound like he's saying something completely different. Or we can really go next level Braxton where it doesn't sound like he's saying anything at all.
I could just cut it all up and make it sound like
great job.
Yeah, he's condoning the use of compression unions.
Yeah, exactly.
Like garage crews, compression unions are great. Just all cut up, all janky. And nobody will know either. Hell, I'll just use AI. I'll just take your video and I'll just run it through AI. You'll say all sorts of crazy shit.
Hey, don't give Braxton's tricks away.
Yeah. Yeah, you can
The
find
guy at Garage Ruru says what? And then I'll just cut to you saying compression unions are great.
I do not condone, anything coming out of your mouth right now. Okay.
Hey, listen, if you ever get to the point that you condone something coming out of David Roman's mouth, I will have a personal mental doctor come speak with you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna invite him to teach our alignment class. Ooh,
Yes. You just bump it. Hey, listen, you just bump it a little.
Just kick that alignment rack because it's moving anyway, so it's fine.